When I speak of Olen, I'm speaking of a friend. A really long time and close friend. We started at Missouri together in 1958, went through ROTC together, ended up in the Army. The bond that we had was one of mutual respect and trust. It would be difficult to name anybody professionally who had who I've had a closer relationship with.
He was a gentleman, respected professional, and helped me throughout my career. We, not only as a mentor, but as a friend.
I met Olen back in 1980 when I was just a young guy, and he and I worked deals over the last 35 years together. He's a great man. Wish he was still around to mentor me some more, but through him and Barney, we were able to successfully conclude deals on the railroad over the last 35 years.
You know, when I think about Olen, the guy had such integrity. He had such a great sense of humor, but a very straightforward guy. The story I remember best about him, though, was back when I was probably, I think about 26. I was still pretty new in the business, thought I was pretty cool, was starting to do a lot of deals, and he called me up one day. He said, "Kenny," he said, "you know, I've been watching you, and you're really doing a great job out there." He said, "You know, I was thinking about you the other day with one of these properties I just listed. I just thought this was one of those deals. I'll bet you Kenny Block knows who can go in the building." So he describes the building to me. And I go, "Well, I'll think about it, Olen. I appreciate it, and thanks for the nice comments." And I hang up the phone. Now, for the next hour of my day, I spent looking through all my prospects, trying to figure out which one of them would work for his building. And after about an hour, I sat back for a second. I said, "Wait a minute. This guy's got me leasing his own building for him." He had, in essence, with his candor and his compliments, had me into working on his property instead of my own property. And that story I'll never forget, because I have utilized that time and time again with my guys. It was an amazing thing how he did it.
One of the very first deals I did as a real young guy in the business, probably my first year, I did with Olen, and it was a great experience because Olen clearly knew that I barely had an idea what was going on, and he could have easily gotten over a lot of things on me, but he treated me like, you know, I was a professional and a friend and had been in the business just as long as he had, and very respectful, very honest in our dealings. I got a good fond memory of Olen, and he'll definitely be missed.
Extraordinarily knowledgeable about the business. He was friendly to pretty much everyone he met. People liked him, and certainly his colleagues in our company and in the business very much appreciated him.
I really enjoyed working with Olen over the years. Always enjoyed seeing him and swapping stories. I'm also a bird hunter, and so it was always fun to swap stories with Olen, and we'll really miss him. He was a real fine person to work with.
Great story about Olen was, you know, Olen was from southern Missouri and had this great draw accent, and we were sitting in this room at a sales meeting one day, and he was talking about a trip he was going to take to Florida with his family and his grandchildren, and this was right after the BP oil rig in the Gulf had ruptured and sprayed oil everywhere. And so he said, "Well, we're going to go down to Florida if we can stay away from Dan Boyle." And we kind of looked at each other around the table and said, "Who's Dan Boyle?" He said, "The damned oil," which was a great illustration of that accent. And he ended up going and had a great time. So Olen was one of a kind. There'll be never be another one like him, and he was just awesome to work for and work with.
Olen Monsees has been one of the true pillars of cooperation and collaboration in commercial real estate in Kansas City. He's one of those guys that if you were up against him in competition, it would be very difficult to win because he was so good and so stable. But on the other hand, he was so honorable as a man to deal with. So he was always a joy to work with, and as I said, just a true pillar of our commercial real estate community.
I miss him. I miss him sometimes every day. I just hope that the good Lord is taking as good a care of him as I think he is.